कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी,
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 कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी,
कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी,
कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी,
बनवारी
झूले राधा प्यारी झूलावे बनवारी
झूले राधा प्यारी झूलावे बनवारी
झूलावे बनवारी
झूलावे बनवारी
झूलावे बनवारी
झूलावे बनवारी
झूले राधा प्यारी झूलावे बनवारी
झूले राधा प्यारी झूलावे बनवारी
कब हूँ मुरारी झोंटा दे भारी
कब हूँ मुरारी झोटा दे भारी
झोंटा दे भारी
झोटा दे भारी
झोंटा दे भारी
झोटा दे भारी
कब हूँ मुरारी झोंटा दे भारी
कब हूँ मुरारी झोटा दे भारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
डरपति प्यारी
डरपति प्यारी
डरपति प्यारी
डरपति प्यारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
अति सुकुमारी डरपति प्यारी
कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी
कदम की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी
झूले राधा प्यारी
झूले राधा प्यारी
झूलावे बनवारी
झूलावे बनवारी
कदम्ब की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी
कदम की डारी झूले राधा प्यारी
बोलिए लाडली लाल की जय।
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। यशोदया समाकापि देवता नास्ति भूतले। उलूखले यया बद्धो मुक्तिदो मुक्तिमिच्छति। अहो वकील पेयं स्तनकालकूटम् जिघांसयापा ययदप्यसाध्वी लेभे गतिं धात्र्युचितां ततोऽन्यं कं वा दयालुं शरणं व्रजेम। यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्मोह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees, Radhe Radhe. Yesterday, I began explaining about our relationship with Shri Krishna. And I told you that all souls have a relationship with Shri Krishna, whether they accept him or not, whether they even believe in him or not. Every soul has an eternal relationship with him. However, those souls who become God-realized receive Shri Krishna's special grace, and they get to experience a special relationship with him. Yesterday I described the general relationship that everyone has with 4 aspects. Sajatya Sambandh, we are related to Shri Krishna in this way, that we are both alive. We are both Chetan, whereas Maya is Jada. Therefore, we are not related to Maya at all. We are in the same category as Shri Krishna. So we have Sajatya Sambandh. We also have Sadeshya Sambandh, which means we're roommates. We live in the same house, the house being the body. Our soul resides there and Krishna resides there. We also have Sayujya Sambandh, which means even more so than occupying the same body, because we are Ansh of Shri Krishna's Jeev Shakti, and a power is never separate from its base. The Shakti is never separate from its Shaktiman. Therefore, we reside within Shri Krishna, and Shri Krishna resides within our very soul because he pervades our soul and gives life to us. In other words, we're in him, he's in us. That's called Sayujya Sambandh. In this world, you can only get so close to somebody. In fact, you never feel like you can get close enough to your loved ones. But with Shri Krishna, there's no such problem. We're already in a state of union with him, even though until God realization, we're not experiencing it fully. This is Sayujya Sambandh. Then I discussed Sakhya Sambandh, how Shri Krishna has a feeling of attachment to us, what we would call mamata, apanapan. He is not just a judge meting out punishment and giving out rewards for our karma. That's actually part of his grace upon us, because he knows if we don't have that system in place, we will never maintain any kind of discipline of good actions or good behavior if we know that Even if Krishna loves me, he's still going to punish me for my bad actions. Keeps us in line at least somewhat. This is a very big grace of his. So we shouldn't just think that he is some Lord of the universe and monitoring the whole karma system and he's just like a manager from afar. No, he has apanapan for us. He has that feeling that these are my children. They belong to me, and he wants the best for us. So I told you about all the things he does, from eternally residing within us and giving us life, to producing this universe when he does Srishti, and the only reason he does that, Mukhyam tasya hi karunyam, Shandilya Bhakti Sutra says, the reason for everything Krishna does is his compassion upon the souls, because he has no personal interest to try to fulfill from any action he could do. Therefore, even doing Srishti, manifesting the universe, is done for the souls, because souls residing in a state of dormancy within Shri Krishna during Pralay, well, there's no point to such an existence. We hear nothing, see nothing, taste nothing, feel nothing, see nothing, do nothing, think nothing. We're not even aware of our own existence during that time. It's like being in a coma during Pralay. So Shri Krishna activates Maya, and that causes the universe to be manifested. Yesterday somebody asked me that, why are we here? Why did Krishna put us here? He never put us here, and he never created us. We've always been here. If something wasn't there, and then now it's there, it means someone created it. Like if there's a clay pot. So before that pot existed, there was dirt, clay, but there was no pot. Somebody had to make that pot. There's a cause of that pot coming into existence, and it requires a maker. We never had a maker. We have always been here. Therefore, there is no cause of our existence. Yet, there is a reason that we have life. Yes, Krishna resides within our soul and gives us life. But that never happened. It's not that one day he created us. We have eternally existed, and he has eternally been giving us life. So what about the cycle of Srishti and Pralay? Yes, the universe requires a maker, but the substance of the universe, the energy of the universe was always there. We call that Maya Shakti. Just like a baker makes a loaf of bread, but doesn't create that bread out of nothing, some ingredients like flour and water and salt and milk are required. Similarly, God doesn't produce the universe out of nothing. Sure, there is an abstract nothingness that Maya exists as when it's dormant. Nothingness because there's no physical form or actual form of the energy produced. No matter, no energy in an actual perceivable form. So we say it's the abstract nothing state of Maya, but it's still there in a seed form. In an absolutely subtle, dormant stage, Maya is there. God just activates it. And when he activates it, then the inborn qualities, the innate qualities of Maya, Sattva, Raj, Tam, combine and recombine in infinite different ways to produce the infinite variety of this universe. And God, of course, pervades this universe and upholds the systematic functioning of the universe, from the electrons orbiting the nucleus of an atom to the movement of galaxies and superclusters of galaxies. God is upholding the systematic functioning of all of this. But the point I'm making is, this cycle never began. See, Maya was there. God just activated it. Okay, so God must have created Maya at some point. No, just like He never created us. Veda is very clear on this point. Ajamekam lohit shukla krishnam vahvi praja srijamanam sarupa ajo hyeko jushamano nushete jahatyenam bhukta bhogamajonyah. Shvetashvatropanishad says, God is Aj. He never had Janma. We'll be celebrating Janmashtami in a couple weeks, but that's a tricky word. Janma literally means to appear. We'll talk about that on the last day, Shri Krishna's appearance. It doesn't mean to be born, because to be born means you weren't there before. So God is unborn. Aj, He's always been there. Souls are Aj, they are unborn. They've always been there. And Maya is Aja, unborn. Maya was never created by God. So the question this person asked me was, why are we here? Well, you can't answer why for a situation that never began. Why means what's the cause? Well, there isn't a cause of something that never happened. It never happened. We've always been here. But there still is a point to our existence. There is a purpose to our existence. And that purpose is to attain God and become perfectly happy forever. Nice, right? That's why we're here. And that's why God does Srishti. Now, He never put us under Maya. That's the other thing to keep in mind. Someone may say, okay, God never created us, but then we must have been with Him in the divine world. Then why did He put us in this Mayic world? Nope. We have never been free from Maya, and we've never been in the divine world. Sada pashyanti suraya tad vishno paramam padam ved. Nasa punaravartate ved. Na tadbhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tadham paramam mama Gita. All of these are saying that once you attain God, that's forever. Once you gain entrance to the divine abode, you never have to be reborn in Maya. There is no such thing as getting kicked out of the divine abode. There is no such thing as losing your divine status. Once a soul becomes God-realized, that is forever. There's no chance of ever coming under the bondage of Maya again. It's like a seed. When you roast it, it loses its ability to germinate forever. You take one kernel of chana. You could plant it in the ground and water it and it'll sprout. But if you bake it or roast it, it will never be able to germinate. Similarly, after God realization, the Mayic nature of our mind is finished forever. We become divine. Then there's no going back after that. We'll never lose that divine status. Which means, had we ever been with God, we would have never been able to come under Maya. Thus, if we take this logic one step further, by virtue of the fact that we are under Maya right now, this proves that we have been under Maya forever. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah Gita. If a thing exists, it can never be made to cease to exist. And if a thing doesn't exist, it can never be made to come into being. I mean, you can change the form of matter and energy, but the energy can't be created or destroyed. Nor can a soul be created or destroyed. Nor can God be created or destroyed. So we've been here forever, God has been here forever, Maya has been here forever. The cycle of Srishti and Pralay has been going on forever. God activates Maya, deactivates Maya, and the whole universe dissolves back into that abstract, nothing, dormant state, seed form. And during that time, we become dormant. So when did this start? It never started. It's an eternal cycle, no beginning, no end. So when did we have our first birth? Never. If there was a beginning, then you have to ask, where were we before that? Was God keeping us in the divine world and then all of a sudden one day sent us down to have our first birth under Maya? No. So were we in storage somewhere since eternity and then God just gave us a first birth 1,000,000 births ago or 1,000,000,000 or 1,000,000,000,000 births ago? If you put any number on it, it means there was a beginning. No, no beginning. It never began. So we've had infinite births since eternity until now. So God didn't put us here under Maya. We have been under Maya. That is who we are. That is our identity. Souls under the bondage of Maya. That is who we've been since eternity. All of this is to explain that God is giving us a chance to attain Him by doing Srishti. Because when He manifests the universe, as I told you yesterday, He sends His saints in this world. And they reveal the Vedas and other divine scriptures, and they guide us to gain spiritual knowledge, using these scriptures as the foundation of that tradition of knowledge. And then souls have the opportunity to follow the path of bhakti and attain Shri Krishna. Now you understand the lengths to which Shri Krishna is going to give us the chance and to do everything to give us the chance to attain Him. If there was one thing more He could be doing, He would already be doing it. But He stops short of controlling us. He won't make us do bhakti. He won't make us surrender to Him. Even though God is all-powerful, sarva samarth, and He is kartum akartum anyatha kartum samartha, He has the ability to do anything He wants. Yet, He follows His own rules. God also lives by a certain set of rules. One of those rules is souls have free will. He will guide us, but He will not interfere in our decisions. So we have to make use of all the opportunities that He's providing to us. He is always hopeful that we will. And this is why even though we've squandered unlimited opportunities in this human birth previously, He still has hope and gives us another chance. He has full hope. He has more hope than we have. He believes in us more than we believe in Him, even though we've let Him down uncountable times. Imagine, He's given us a human birth uncountable times in the past, and yet He's not giving us this birth this time with a pessimistic attitude. Oh yeah, they'll probably squander the opportunity again, but what can I do? I have to give them another chance. That's not His attitude at all. Jagadguru Shri Kripalji Maharaj says, God and saints are ashavadi. They're the ultimate optimists. No matter what, they always have full hope, full confidence that we are going to follow the path to God and attain them in this lifetime. So if they have confidence in us, then why shouldn't we try? Then it means we can do it. It means it's possible. And uncountable souls have done it. We shouldn't focus on the fact that how much have we squandered in the past. There's another thing Shri Kripalaji Maharaj says is that don't focus on your past mistakes. Acknowledge the mistake and move on. Why keep your mind in the negative things that you've done in the past? Acknowledge your mistake, learn from it, and move on. Stop thinking about it. Think about the next positive thing you're going to do. Don't focus on the negative. So this is Sakhya Sambandh. Shri Krishna looks out for us. He's working full time, arranging all of this. just for us. Now, he says in Gita, Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyah ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya maite teshu chapyaham. Even though his general grace is on everyone, but in general, as I said, he doesn't interfere with ordinary souls' lives. However, those who begin to follow the path of bhakti and surrender to him, begin to become surrendered to him, they enter a different category, because to the extent of their surrender, they start receiving his special grace. How is that grace received? In a few different ways. One of the ways is protection. Ananyashchintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. A God-realized saint, because they are 100% surrendered to Shri Krishna, they receive Shri Krishna's full protection. In other words, he takes their full responsibility for their physical life and their divine happiness. They are God-realized, so of course Krishna is living in their heart and they're never apart from him. He's always with them and they experience divine happiness all the time. But in addition to that, he looks after their each and every physical need. I'm saying for a God-realized saint. One time, Jagannath Mishra was a great saint writing an explanation of the Mahabharata scripture. And in the Mahabharata, the Gita comes. It's an excerpt of that scripture. So he was writing the explanation of this shlok I just quoted that says, those who keep their mind in Shri Krishna all the time, Shri Krishna does their yogakshema vahan. He takes their full responsibility to protect what they have and ensure their further progress. So Jagannath Mishra was writing the explanation of this, and he was thinking that, he said, Vahamyaham, yogakshemam vahamyaham. Vahamyaham means मैं खुद करता हूँ yogakshema vahan. Shri Krishna himself personally looks after the needs of his surrendered devotees, those real bhakt saints. He was thinking, he personally does it? Seems like an unnecessary task for him to undertake. He probably delegates it to someone. So when he got to that shlok, instead of just translating it as it was, he actually changed the wordings from yogakshemam vahamyaham to yogakshemam dadamyaham. Means I have it taken care of. Means through somebody. You know, there are so many saints, so many, even devtas of Swarg do Shri Krishna's bidding. He could have any one of them do whatever is needed for that God-realized saint. So he made that change in the original shlok and then translated it, and then he had to go. He went out. Now, that day there was nothing to eat in the house. And while he was out, a boy came to the door, a dark-complexioned boy, carrying a heavy basket on his head with some flour and rice. It was too much of a load for such a young boy to be carrying, but nonetheless, he came, knocked at the door, and gave Jagannath Mishra's wife all of this food. Now, he had some, like we say in English, a fat lip, right? You know, when someone hits you, you get a fat lip, it swells up. He had some injury on his mouth like that. So his wife asked the boy that, oh, my son, what happened to you? He said, Jagannath Mishra hit me. She said, what? Is he losing his mind in his old age? And she also asked, why are you bringing this food? Thank you, but where did this come from? He said, Jagannath Mishra sent this. Your husband has sent this. And she's thinking, such a heavy load on such a small boy. So anyway, the boy left. And when Jagannath Mishra returned, his wife started questioning, why did you hit that boy? And you sent such a big load on his head. Are you losing your mind in your old age? What's going on? And he's thinking, what boy? What are you talking about? And she showed him the food that he had brought and also described what the boy looked like. Then Jagannath Mishra realized, tears came to his eyes as he realized Krishna came to show him that no, it's not dadamyaham. I myself do it. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. I myself take personal care of those devotees who are fully surrendered to me. So Krishna was also showing him by that wound on his face that, hey, go ahead and interpret the verses of the Gita any way you want, but don't change my original words. So Jagannath Mishra knew, oh yes, Krishna himself takes personal responsibility for the needs of those bhakt saints, those who are fully surrendered to him. Now we also have Shri Krishna's care. In the Bhagavatam, it is described that a jnani, one who's following the path of devotion to formless God, which is none other than Shri Krishna's radiance of his body, but still in formless God, his qualities aren't active. So his grace is not active either. Which means the one following the path of Gyan could fall from the path at any time because they don't have Krishna's grace protecting them if they waver at any point. Yenyer vindaksha vimuktamani nastvayasta bhavada vishuddha buddhaya aruhya krichrena parampadam tata patantyadhona yushmadangraya. The Bhagavatam tells that the jnani may fall at any time because God's gracious hand is not holding them on the path. In fact, having reached the ultimate limit of what Gyan Marg can take you to, Atma Gyan, even from that state, they may fall back into their regular Mayic state of desires. However, Tatha namadhavata vachit Bhrashyanti marga tvayi baddha sauhrida tvaya bhigupta vicharanti nirbhaya. However, the bhakt, and here, or for us, in this case, it's a sadhak, na bhrashyanti margat. Krishna doesn't let even the sadhak, or not even fully surrendered to him, and yet he's taking so much care of us, he will not let us fall off our path of devotion. Chipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat chantim nigacchati. Shri Krishna says, O Arjun, my bhakt can never fall. My devotee can never fall. So he's also talking about his divine saint who's God realized, and he's also talking about the sadhak who's following the path, trying to become a bhakt. He personally protects Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. It's my solemn vow, Arjun, my devotee can never fall from the path. Tvaya bhigupta vicharanti nirbhaya. The devotees of Shri Krishna walk around fearlessly because Tvaya bhigupta, Shri Krishna is residing in here within our heart. So he protects us. Through the Guru, he manages this whole situation. The one following the path of bhakti does so with the help of the Guru. So it is through the Guru, Krishna's grace through the Guru, and the Guru does all this invisibly, just protects the devotional feelings of the sadhak, however much bhav they've gained. No matter how much they waver, how many mistakes they make, how careless they become in devotion, that bhav, that punji, that devotional capital that we've accumulated, that is always protected by Krishna. So even if we become careless in devotion, again when we come back to our regular devotional discipline, we go further ahead without having lost what we had gained. So he's doing our yogakshema as well, keeping us on the path, preventing us from falling from this path. This is something so special. Even a jnani does not receive this protection, neither when they're on the path, neither after liberation. If the jnani attains brahmagyan, still they don't have such protection from God. They're just subjected to whatever was in their prarabdha for their remaining years on this earth. Well, there's a story that illustrates this, the story of Vilvamangal, but I'm going to save this story for tomorrow. And I'll also explain one more way that God protects us from something extremely dangerous that is unseen, but threatens each and every devotee, to the point that even saints do acting that they are also subjected to this dangerous thing. So what is that, and how does Shri Krishna protect us from that? I'll explain further ahead tomorrow. I want to see for a couple of minutes if anyone has any questions based on yesterday's or today's material. After that, we have one interesting Leela Keertan that we'll sing, and we'll finish with a quiz at the end. Anybody have anything they want to ask based on the material from the last couple days? Yes. Yes. Identity? Yes. Okay, so our true self is the soul, but since eternity we have the same mind, and our mind is made of Maya. The mind is sentient because it receives that power from the soul, but because mind is just Mayic energy, on its own, the mind has no life of its own. But this Mayic mind is a subtle thing that preserves all of our thoughts and sanskars, which are created out of our thoughts, and that retains our personality, our likes and dislikes, our desires, our attachments, our good and bad qualities that we develop. All of that is stored in the mind. The mind, being Mayic, has three inborn qualities: sattva, raj, tam. Sattva is the pure quality of Maya. Raj is the in-between, selfish, passionate quality of Maya. And then tam is the negative, impure quality of Maya. Everything Mayic has these three qualities in different balance. Could be more of one, more of another. Our mind, being Maya, has these three qualities. So the feelings like anger, greed, jealousy, those are innate in Maya. Because we have a mind made of Sattvurajtam, those Mayic qualities are already there in our mind. They can be reduced through devotion. The more our mind becomes attached to God and Guru, the more we imbibe their divine qualities. And those divine qualities suppress the Mayic qualities. Does that make sense? Do you have any follow-up question? Yes. Well, we still can progress even if we don't meet a saint, although we may not begin our path of devotion. But a person sometimes, let's say there's a person who has that desire for God is not uncovered yet within them. And they wouldn't actually take advantage of meeting a saint. They wouldn't even want to serve the saint. They wouldn't be interested in listening to the saints' lectures. So maybe that person needs to spend a few lifetimes just trying to become a better and better person. And eventually their mind becomes a little more sattvic, and eventually that desire for God gets uncovered. The more sattvic the mind becomes, the more clearly that call of the soul for God rings out in the mind. So sometimes a soul just needs to spend time becoming good, and then eventually will start to desire for God. This is why we have two aspects to Sanatana Dharma. The Aparadharma is just discipline for being a good person. So if someone isn't following Paradharma, which is the path of bhakti, they at least have to follow Aparadharma and learn to be a good person in the world, even if they're doing it with a desire to be rewarded for their good actions and get more material pleasure. At least that's inducing them to do good things and discipline themselves. Eventually a person transcends that, realizes that, okay, really, what's the point of this? Then they're ready for Paradharma. So 80% of Vedas is for Aparadharma, Karmakana, because most people are not interested in God. So at least they should develop the sattvic quality of their mind. Eventually they'll begin to desire for God. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult line to draw because when we become God realized, at that time also, it's not like now our status in the divine world is that we are always going to be this sadhana siddh Mahapurush. You also become nitya siddh. Let's say you become God realized and then Krishna sends you back on earth as a saint. You'll be called a nitya siddh Mahapurush. Even though you'll still be Ansh of Jeev Shakti, right? We never lose that identity. We never become Ansh of Swarup Shakti. But once you've gone to the divine world, there's no category like, okay, these are the souls who got God realized in 2000s. These are the souls who got God. You also become Nitya Siddh, so you're also being referred to as an eternal saint, eternally free from Maya. Because there's no way to keep track of the time. There's no reason to keep track of the time anymore after that. It's hard to explain, right? But and then if you say, okay, well, it should be equal. All souls should have been under Maya at one point. We should have all had to get God realized. Why are there some who are eternally with God? So that means God's divine abode would have been empty at one point. And then as souls started getting God realized, but then you say, but it never began. So since eternity, souls have been getting God realized. So since eternity, there's been souls in the divine world. So that means eternally there's souls in the divine world, and eternally there's souls under Maya. You get what I'm trying to say? That's right. That's in the context of that lifetime. So when you become God realized for the rest of your life, before you leave your body and go to the divine world, you'll be a sadhana siddh Mahapurush. But then if Krishna sends you back on earth, you won't again be considered a sadhana siddh Mahapurush. You'll be Nitya Siddh, your descended saint. Even though it seems like it wouldn't be that way, but it is. In the divine world, there's no seniority and juniority like this saint. This soul became a saint before you, so, you're still behind him. It all becomes equal once you're God realized. Yes? The reason for that is special because all the people involved in God's divine leelas in any one of his avatars are all Nitya Siddh Mahapurush who came from the divine world. Some may be Devatas from Swarga. Like a lot of the Banar Sena were actually Devatas from Swarga in Rama Avatar, for example. But yeah, all the soldiers, everybody involved in Mahabharata, they're not ordinary people. Ordinary people don't participate in Krishna's Leela. And Mahabharata is one of Krishna's Leelas. So ordinary souls, when Krishna takes avatar, his actions are all performed amongst his saints. He doesn't interact with ordinary souls, non-God realized souls, because there's no point to it. We wouldn't follow the plan of his Leela anyway, and nor would we get any benefit of his association because we wouldn't recognize him, even if we met him face to face. So all the participants in God's Leelas are divine. So of course, they're going back to the divine world, so they're getting moksha, it's a way of saying it. Even the villains are descended saints who are playing the role of a villain. Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Kunj, Hiranyakashipu, all the great demons that God had to take avatar in order to kill, they were all playing the part of the villain for God's Leela. I think we'll save the special Leela for tomorrow. We'll do some Nam Sankirtan today and finish with a few minutes quiz. can use this for questions. If there's people watching on YouTube, they might not hear the questions otherwise. Let us all visualize Radha, Krishna, and remember that they have that apnapan for us. So see them looking at you with that feeling of ownness. Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe
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 Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda 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 Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Govinda Radhe
Radhe Radhe Govinda 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 Govinda
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे 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 राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद 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 गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद 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 गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद 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 गोविंद राधे
राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे
राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे Time for today's quiz. We'll review yesterday's material as well. Let us start with the 4 aspects of our relationship with Shri Krishna. Can anyone tell me one of them with the Sanskrit word and the meaning? Pankaj Bhaiya? Or just the meaning? Oh yeah, same one you gave yesterday. Sakhya Sambandh. Good. That's right. Yes. Yes, Sayujya Sambandh. We're in a state of total union with Krishna already, even though we won't fully experience it until God realization. We're not separate from Him. Sakhya Sambandh. Yes, Sayujya Sambandh. We're in a state of total union with Krishna already, even though we won't fully experience it until God realization. We're not separate from Him. Shall you remember? You weren't here yesterday. Yes. Yes, Sajatya. In Sanskrit, the sa becomes a sa when it's an adjective. Sajatya sambandh. We're of the same, what does it mean? That's right. We're of the same jati, same type. So we're both Chetan, whereas Maya is Jada. And the final one, yes. Yes, Sadeshya Sambandh. Good. Which means we're roommates. Yes, we both reside in the same body. Good. And we also mentioned the three existing entities, three eternal entities, yesterday and today. What are the three, Shantanu? Yes, God, souls, and Maya. Which one came first? Obviously God came first, right? No? No, you're right. We've all three have been here forever. That's right. What do we call the cycle of creation and dissolution of the universe in Sanskrit? What are the two words? Pralay is one of them. Srishti, right. The word Srishti doesn't mean creation actually, it means release. Srishti means the release of Maya. And pralay doesn't mean destruction. Lay means merging, right? Pralay, total merging of the whole universe into God. So it disappears. And then he releases it. That's Srishti. That's an eternal cycle as well. So when the first Srishti happened, is that a correct statement? Is that a correct way to begin a sentence? Why not? What? It's eternal, right. There was never a first Srishti. So when we had our first birth and we had a blank slate, we had no previous karma. Is that a correct way to begin a statement? No. We never had a blank slate with no previous karma. We never had a first birth. We've always had one before that, and one before that, and one before that. We've always been under the bondage of karma and the bondage of Maya. If you're having trouble conceptualizing that, don't even try. Because the concept of infinity cannot be understood in our limited material mind. Concept of eternity or infinity can't be grasped by our mind. So we theoretically think about, okay, we didn't have a beginning and we can accept it, but we can't understand it. Until we become God-realized and we get God's mind, then we'll understand these concepts truly. Okay, what are God's three powers? Three main powers, I should say. Yes. Good. Swarup Shakti, Jeev Shakti, Maya Shakti. Which of those three are we ansh of? Jeev Shakti. We're a part of Jeev Shakti. Why can we not be said to be ansh of Maya Shakti? That's right. If we were ansh of Maya, we would be jar. We would have no consciousness. Then why aren't we ansh of Swarup Shakti? What's the need for Jeev Shakti as a category? Why not just say we're ansh of Swarup Shakti? God is Chetan, we're Chetan. What's that? Right. We would be God ourselves. That's the way he said we would have been part of divinity. Another way to say that is we ourselves would be God. Only the forms of Krishna himself are ansh of Swarup Shakti. So Vishnu is ansh of Swarup Shakti. Shiva is ansh of Swarup Shakti. Durga is ansh of Swarup Shakti. All the forms of Radha Krishna are Ansh of Swarup Shakti. No soul is Ansh of Swarup Shakti. Certain great divine personalities that we don't usually put in the category of a form of God, they're also Ansh of Swarup Shakti, like the 8 personal aids of Radharani, Lalita, Vishakha, Ashtamaha, Sakhiyan. They are Ansh of Swarup Shakti. Yes? Radha, Krishna. So Krishna is considered to be Shaktiman. So he is the owner of, he is the base in which Swarup Shakti resides. And Radha is the, yeah, you could say she is Swarup Shakti. But she's much more than that. She is also Mahabhav, which is the essence of Swarup Shakti. The essence of the essence of the essence of Swarup Shakti. We'll talk about that a little more when we talk about the special relationship between Krishna and his Bhakt saints. How, because of this special nature of Swarup Shakti, Krishna is made to forget he's God. And Radha has involvement in that, so I'll discuss that tomorrow and or the next day. So we are Ansh of Jeev Shakti, we are not Ansh of Swarup Shakti, otherwise we would also be all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipresent. We would have all the same qualities of God. There can't be more than one God. There's only one God. So all the forms of God are Ansh of Swarup Shakti. So right now we are Ansh of Jeev Shakti and we are Maya Shakti Yukt, because our mind and body are made of Maya. And those are tools used by the soul. So we're Jeev Shakti with affiliation of Maya. After God realization, does a soul become Ansh of Swarup Shakti and cease to be Ansh of Jeev Shakti? Anybody know? No. So what changes then? If we're after God realization, we're still Ansh of Jeev Shakti. What changes? That's right. The affiliation with Maya is finished. We're no longer Maya Shakti Yukt. In the case of a Jnani who gets absolute liberation, that's it. The bondage of Maya is broken. But in the case of the Bhakt who worship the personal form of God, Krishna in any form, what's the extra thing? He was Jeev Shakti, that is Maya Shakti Yukt. So now we got rid of Maya, what's been added? Now he's Swarup Shakti Yukt. He gets a mind and body made of Swarup Shakti. That's the difference between the Jnani saint and the Bhakt saint. The Jnani saint, you just minus the Maya part, there's no plus of Swarup Shakti. The Jnani just remains as pure Ansh of Jeev Shakti. That's why with no mind and body, there's no experience for the Jnani after he merges into God. But the Bhakt is now Swarup Shakti Yukt. So we'll talk about this. You have a question? A Nitya Siddh Mahapurush could either be Ansh of Swarup Shakti, like Lalita Vishakha, when they descend on earth as saints, we call them Nitya Siddh Mahapurush. Or it could be any soul who is Ansh of Jeev Shakti and happens to be Swarup Shakti Yukt. They can also come down as Nitya Siddh Mahapurush. Okay, we went overtime today. Bolo Vrindavan Bihari Lal Ki, Shrimat Sadguru Sarkar Ki, Shri Yugal Kunj Ki, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.